J.P. Morgan Chase is basically center of the United States. It's called the flagship bank, and J.P. means John Piedmont Morgan. He's a founder of the J.P. Morgan. Lived in 19th century, and you cannot forget about him if we talk about World War I and World War II. And I'm sure that many people know about him, and at least heard of him. The China was actually in Pacific the biggest, I could say, the cheap labor provide to the America and Canada and Mexico. Most of people talk about African American came from Africa, or the European came from the Atlantic. But actually, America was developed in two ways. And about 150 years ago, there are a lot of the Chinese laborers called the coolie sent from the ship to the West Coast America, and they were actually built the railroad for America from west to east. It was not east to west. So because of this railway system, America industrialization, and then they conquered America. Basically, this is the story. Now, in China, there was, after this the so-called colonization by British, French, German, and etc., there was a revolution, and the father is called Sun Wun. And this Sun Wun's successor was called Chiang Kai-shek. And Chiang Kai-shek's wife, her name is called Somelin, Madame Chan. And she lives, surprisingly, from 1897 until 2003, which means she lives 160 years. The secret of untold story is how she died. We don't know, because 5 years, the last moment people saw her was 5 years before she died. And at that time, the news said she has no listening capabilities, she has no the eyes capabilities. So let's assume she was lying in the bed. So she passed away in the 203, and there was the biggest mystery how she died, and where is her will, and where the money went. So I decided to start find out this, because for the interest of the 1.5 billion of Asian people's interest, the asset or the inheritance of her, because she has no children, it was 1/3 of Chinese GDP at that time. And today, if we start estimate of the 70 years of the history of the Kuomintang, the parties, and also they acquired the Japanese inheritance by winning the Japan, and Japanese inheritance was in China, in Taiwan, in Korea. So if we add it up, it could be close to $1 trillion today. Now, the question is, who was very close to this fund? We found out it's basically J.P. Morgan Chase and the related bankers. This ongoing thing is now starting to be the sovereign fund of Chinese and Japanese and Korean people. I think I decided to set up the foundation. Actually, we started last year. We're going to announce this on the next few days in the world. And this is so-called the Taiwan Foundation. Taiwan Foundation is basically T-A-I-O-N-E, and this is the basis on Tai, that means platform, and one means number one. And so I named this long time ago. I got this the trademark in the United States, so I could use it wherever I want. So Taiwan Foundation is going to find out the modern history of what happened in last 10, 20, 50 years, and where the money went. It's at the interest of the many people in the Asia, and also in America, in Europe, in many countries, because this money is from the people and from not from her own personal asset. I believe most of them belong to the people, and this is a public interest. So Taiwan Foundation is going to start the activities, and we welcome people who has information about how the asset, or your grandfather, grandmother, or your aunt who were taken the asset by Chiang Kai-shek wife or Chiang Kai-shek families or whatever it is in the past, And if you have untold the evidences, we are welcome to send to us. What we want to do is that to make sure that the current the bankers in the J.P. Morgan or the Deutsche Bank or the Swiss Bank, wherever, to return the money to the people. And this is for the public interest. And actually, there is one example already I heard, which basically Jewish had a lot of funds when the World War II. They had the money in the Swiss banks. It took Jewish people as a country to negotiate with the Swiss banks and return a lot of money back to Jewish families. So this kind of thing is not only in the Jewish or Chinese or Japanese or Koreans. This is kind of thing happened. Today, I think it's very, very important to identify. The reason is that this money is so huge, and it has to be returned to the original people.
And so, the Taiwan Foundation is there money and support to do research, or is it more than that? How is it helping?
Yes. So Taiwan Foundation will get the donation from the people who want to find out the true story, and the money recovered will, if it's sufficient evidence, it should be returned to the original owners or the families. But because it has spent some money to collect, some of the money can stay in the foundation. And foundation objective is to try to make sure the Asian culture will be known by the today's West or the other countries. And secondly, if any national treasury or whatever, it should go to the museum and keep it the things. I'm sure there are a lot of things now in the British Museum have to return to these people.
And talk to me, how proud would you be when this is up and running? Is it something that you feel very proud about?
Yes, I think being in seeing the world and involved in so many cases, I already identify where the money, some of them, and this has to be used for the cross border, across the globe, for the science research and the rewritten or put in the right perspective of the history. I think it's very, very important that because today we are now with the Google or the Amazon or all this digital world, and this is the time to do it properly.